Hi everybody, it's Jem here. Welcome to my creative space and welcome to part 2 of making a junk journal with a grocery bag or a gift bag. Now before we start today, I'm hoping that the rain isn't making too much noise. My creative space is a small room literally in a turret, and I have a metal roof, and at the moment the rain is absolutely pouring down and it's making quite a noise on the roof, so I hope that's not too distracting. But anyway, here we go. So in part 1 of this video, which I'll link below, I showed you how I was making journal covers with grocery bags or gift bags and upcycled cereal boxes. So I'll link that video below in case you haven't seen it. So we've got 2, and I had 2 on the go to show you the different stages without having to wait for them all to dry. But I've got both of them to the same stage now, and you'll see that I've put some lining in, and this is cardboard covered with gel prints in both cases actually, and that helps to give the journal quite a lot of strength. And also looks good. So I'm going to show you 2 different things today. With this journal, I'm going to pop some signatures in. I've got 2 signatures, and I'm going to be showing you how to do that using the classic pamphlet stitch, and popping those in there. And the other one, this smaller one, I participated in the gelypostcardplay challenge run by Kerry Griffiths, and so I have 31 postcards which I created as part of that challenge, and I'm looking at how to store them. So I'm going to use this, and I'm going to show you how I use an envelope like this to create, instead of signature pages, I'm creating signatures of pockets. Now it's a bit experimental, we're going to see if it works, so come along for the ride and have some fun. But alright, we're going to start with the ordinary signatures, which are your signatures you'll find in most junk journals. There's quite a lot of videos around on how to put these in. So if what I'm saying doesn't make sense, have a Google on YouTube. There's lots and lots of people who will show you how to do this. So I have, when I'm doing signatures, I have this. You may have seen me use this before. This is made from a little bit of balsa wood, and my husband created this for me. As you can see, it's a bit like a trough that animals might drink from. So it's a V of balsa wood there with 2 ends. Really simple, but I've found it really helpful and effective when I'm piercing my signatures. So I'll show you how I use that in a minute. Right, I've pre-measured these, and so what I've done, little tip, piece of cardboard or paper the same width as your signatures, and measure where you want your holes. This is particularly helpful if you've got more than 1 signature. I've got 2 here. I think they've got about 10 sheets in each, which will give me 20 pages, or 40 sides, so quite a lot of pages there. And I want the 2 obviously to have the holes in the same place. Now the other thing with this type of journal made like this is that the spine is actually really quite sturdy, and so this will also enable you to get the holes in the right place, because I find it's easier to push the holes through the spine separately to those. I don't know whether that's how everybody does it, but it's certainly how I do it. Now, so as you can see from here, my journal cover is just a little bit bigger than my pages. This is the same size as my pages, my journal covers just a little bit bigger. I wanted them sitting just inside. So I am going to eyeball this to get these holes in the middle. But because I have two, if I was just putting one signature in, I would measure or eyeball across my spine to find the middle, put my template there and poke my holes. But I've got two signatures in here, so I like to measure across. I've got about 7 centimetres there, so if I come in to that side and to that side, that's going to give me quite a big gap in the middle, so I'm going to redo that. I'm going to come in, I'm going to come in 2.5 and 2.5 each side. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm measuring from this side, I'm measuring 2.5, and from this side I'm measuring 2.5. And I'm putting some little dots there. Now, just do a very faint pencil line to join those dots up. And this is a really soft pencil, this is a 6B, so that's going to nice and easy to get rid of if I need to. So that's my lines where I want my holes. As I say, I'm just going to eyeball this so that I've got roughly the same gap here and here, and I'm lining it up with the pencil mark I've just made. Now I use a tool that came, I think it's a weeding tool that came with my Cricut machine. You can use a Bradle, you can use anything that's sort of sharp that's going to make a hole. And on my line, and lining up, and I've got my self-heal mat below, I'm going to line up and just push through the spine, minding my fingers. Now I can feel that that's gone through. And I'm going to do exactly the same, so keep that in the right place. Next one's going to be here. And my last one is going to be here. Please do mind your fingers when you're doing this. Unfortunately, I can't use my little V thing for this because it's a wide spine. So now I'm going to turn it around, just because that's how I find it easy to work, and I'm going to do exactly the same. Now this time, rather than eyeballing the distance, I'm going to look at where my other holes were. And so you're lining it up two ways. You're lining it up with the pencil line that you drew, and the first set of holes that you put in. There we go, that's through. Pencil line, and you can use this toe just to give you an extra check. And this one, is going to go there. Okay, so hopefully what you can see is that we've got two sets of 3 holes, and that's going to be where our needle goes through, and you might be able to see them just coming through this side as well. Right. So now I'm going to employ my little doodah key. Make sure my pages are all just I think most of these are about the same size, this way anyway. So I'm going to put them in there, and I'm going to use my same template, and this should mean, hopefully you can see that, this should mean I get my holes in the same place. And if you don't have one of these, it doesn't matter, it's just something I've found makes it easier. And as you can see, that pushes straight through. And what I am going to do, is always forget this, before I let go, is I'm just going to clip. Now you can use bulldog clips or sewing clips, anything you like. Clip your pages together, and then they're not going to move. Alright, so there's the 3 holes, and they will correspond with the ones you've just made on your journal cover. Sorry, I was just looking for some more clips for the other signature. There we go. Alright, so we'll put that one to the side, and we'll do exactly the same with this one. There we go, 3 holes, exactly the same. One thing I will say about this, because it's made of balsa wood, it's really soft, so you'll see that that's really easily pushes into the wood. And when I push through the paper into the join at the bottom, it just gives a little bit, and my spike comes through, so it just makes it really easy. What I might do is I will measure, when I get a minute, I'll measure the pieces of wood and put up a little thing with some dimensions, because it's literally 4 pieces of wood glued together, so not hard. Right, okay, so you've got your 2 signatures, 1, 2, and journal cover, decide which way up, maybe. Now, if you want to decorate the front of your journal cover, the outside, before you put your signatures in, absolutely fine. I'm not with this one. I think I know what I want to use it for, but I'm not absolutely sure yet. So I'm just going to hang fire and do that afterwards. Alright, so signatures, journal cover, and the next thing we need is a nice sharp needle. Hopefully you can see that, and some strong thread. Now you can use linen thread, or anything that's sort of quite strong and tough actually. I've seen people double up embroidery thread and use that. That looks quite nice. Alright, so what we're going to do today is your basic pamphlet stitch. So you take your needle and thread and you go down through the central hole. Now we're going to then pick one of the holes on our journal cover, the central one, and go through that as well. That's a little bit tough to get through here, but there we go. And we're going to line it up, and we're going to leave a bit of a tail like that in the middle, because we're going to use that in a minute to tie it off. So then come back to the outside of your cover and you go into the bottom hole. Now it's a bit hard to hold everything together, don't panic, just leave yourself some room at the moment. And as I say, you may need to just, depending on what sort of cardboard you've used, depends how easy it is to go through that hole. There we go. So you come through the bottom hole of the cover and you go through that central hole, the bottom hole of your signature. Now then you want to pull that nice and tight, leaving that tail, and you're going to go back down. This is where it gets a little bit trickier. You're going to go back down through the central hole. So if you can see that, there's your tail, there's your first stitch, and you keep that nice and tight. So now coming back on the outside, I am just going to have to poke those holes a little bit more. You go back through the top hole and through the top of your signature. Now you'll see that that all kind of loosened up. So this is the important bit. Sorry, spinning it around like that. You check everything's lined up and your signature is nice and tight against your cover. Check everything is nice and tight. And then I like to take this thread underneath that bottom one, and then you can tie off with your original end. And I do what we used to call a reef knot. Right over left and under, left over right and under, or the other way around, depending on how you do it. There we go. Makes that's nice and tight. You can do that again if you want to. You can pop underneath the threads like that and tie again, just to make doubly sure it's not going to come undone. There we go, and you snip your ends off. And it is as easy as that, folks. There we go. Signature number 1 in the journal. Now, I've left quite a bit of space here, and I'll show you the same when I put the other one in. I've left quite a bit of space. As I say, I have something in mind for this, and I want space for my pages to be able to fill up with this one. I'm envisaging quite a lot of things in here. Alright, so same again. Going to start in the middle, down we go. Alright, make sure everything is nice and tight. You want that signature securely in. When you're pulling the string, I always try to pull upwards rather than sideways, because sometimes if you pull sideways, these holes will start to get torn. So pull up rather than sideways. Alright, take it under your string. I'm going to tie off. And then, as I say, if you want to be doubly sure it's going to hold, get under them, those again. Final knot. Cut your ends off, and at this point it's safe to take your clips off. And with a bit of luck, you will find that you now have a journal with all your pages in. There we go. So 2 signatures in here. As I say, I've left quite a lot of room because this is going to be a chunky journal with lots of things in. If you don't want it as chunky, when you make your spine narrower. All right, so there we go, folks. That's journal number 1 done. I'm just going to get my bits and pieces together, and I'll come back and show you my idea for a journal with lots of pockets. Now, as I say, a little bit experimental on my part, so we'll see if it works, but you've got to try these things. Okay, back in a jiffy. Okay, we're back. All right, so my idea, and this is how I started with the gift bag journal idea, is that I have all these postcards that I made, as I say, as part of Kerry Griffiths' July Postcard Play Challenge. And I'll pop a link below in case you don't know what I'm talking about. But it was a challenge where we made a postcard a day for the 31 days of July. Now, I intend to use my postcards for various things. Some of them might become card fronts, some of them might become journaling cards, some of them may just be sent as postcards. But in the meantime, I'd like somewhere to store them. Oh, there we go. That's come off one of my postcards, so that needs to be fixed back on. All right, so what I would like to do is to store them in a journal like this, to keep them safe, protect them until I use each one of them. Now, I've spent a long time thinking about this, and I thought, yeah, I could just put ordinary signature pages in and put a pocket on each one, and that would work. But I then came up with an idea using envelopes, because I'm not actually worried about the inside looking pretty. It is really just some practical storage for me. Now, I know I've decorated the ends, but you know, the pages, they don't need to be fancy pages that have had a lot of time spent on them. Really, what I want is 31 pockets. So I've got some big envelopes, and these are 32.5 by 23 centimetres, and I'll convert that into inches for you on the screen. And they're quite sturdy, quite thick paper. And what I've done with these is I've figured out I can get 6 little pockets. So I've cut these, or I'm going to cut these, so 8 centimetres. So I've folded my envelope in half this way, and then I'm going to cut at 8 centimetres, and that's the same. So 8 centimetres up from the bottom, draw a line across, and then split 8 centimetres half each way. Now these two measure 14.5, and this one you take the little top bit off, so that's 14.5 as well. So I'll cut those and you'll see what I mean. And hopefully you can see that. The first thing I'm going to do is actually just remove, no I'm not, because it's too big. I'll have to do it like that. It's just to remove the flap of the envelope, because I'm not going to use that. So we go, flap gone. So now we're going to cut across here. So you're coming 8 centimetres up from the bottom of the envelope. Now that, I'm going to take that extra bit off, so that this is 14.5. So there you already have 2 pockets. Okay, and then this piece I'm going to split in half like that, and we have 6 pockets. So these, you will see, don't have any bottom. They're more like a page, but don't panic. And so are these. That one does have, no it doesn't, it's just the top where it's stuck together. So those pieces, you pop one inside each other, as you would your signature pages, and then they go inside your 2 that have corners. And what that does, I figured out, if you stitch, so what I'm going to do is to stitch through the middle one as you would a normal signature, stitch through there, and what that will actually give me is, I think, 11 pockets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 pockets. And my idea is, and you can trim this up once you've put them all together, my idea is that these cards will sit in these pockets like this. So if you can see, they're in those pockets. That will be in there, and that will hold my cards. This is the theory. Let's try it and see if it works, shall we? Right, so I've trimmed those edges down just to tidy it up a little bit, and because I've got 31 cards, I've made 3 of these, because that will give me 33 pockets. So a couple of extra, but that's okay. So what I've also done is clipped them together, both sides, and that will enable me to put my holes in. So I've made myself another little template where I want the holes. It matches on here, you see, and I've already put my holes into my spine, the same as I did with the other one, and you'll see this time I've got 3 rows of 3 holes. Now I'm going to keep it really simple and just put those 3 signatures in separately in exactly the same way as I did with the others. So got my holes in there. I'm going to put my holes in here. Now this is going to be a little bit more tricky to show you because I'm working in a pocket rather than with pages that open right up, but hopefully you can see that. I'm putting that in there. Sorry if my head's in shot there. I'm putting my 3 holes in. Alright, so I don't know whether you can see those. I've done the same with these other 2 signatures. So we've got 3 signatures of pockets ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is exactly the same as I did last time. Using pamphlet stitch, you'll see I've chosen some, excuse me, some cotton that matches the envelopes. I might just trim those off. I should have done that before I put the holes in, but anyway. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to put those into the journal and we'll see if it works. Hey, it's no fun if you don't try. book. So I've got the 3 signatures in there, the 3 signatures of pockets. Now, as you can see, that was quite fiddly tying them off in the middle, because you haven't got a lot of space to work with, but they're in there. And what I've now achieved is a journal with lots and lots of pockets that are all sealed at the bottom. So let's try. Let's see if it works. It's a little bit mixed up at the moment. Let's just sort them out. Okay, so that's the last one. So I'm going to work from the back and fill these pockets up. And I'm hoping that they are all going to fit and it's not too bulky. I'll put that one in that way to protect. So there's been quite a lot of discussion online about what people want to use their postcards for. I know some people want to keep them as a whole set, and I have to say I'm considering that. But at the end of the day, it's also, I love sharing things with people, and so we'll see. As I say, some thoughts I'd had. Some of them could go as big journal cards in journals, or they could be turned into the front of a card. You'll see a couple here are digital ones that I created. I met all the parameters of the challenge, but I was away from home for a few days, and I couldn't take all my gear with me, so I was a little bit sneaky and created 3 of my postcards digitally. Oh, got 2 there. I have to say, I haven't had these out probably for a month now, because yes, it's the beginning of September now, and it's quite nice just to sit back and look through them. I found the challenge of creating 1 postcard a day quite intense. It was a fabulous challenge, and I loved it, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat, but it was quite an intense process. And I think since then, so it's been about 4, maybe 5 weeks since I finished, and since then I haven't really looked back through these, so it's quite nice now just looking back through and going, oh yeah, I remember that one. So there we go, that's 2 of the signatures, and here's our last one. And what I'm noticing, some of these cards have got a little bit of a bend on them where they've been sitting, so I'm hoping that by being in a more protective environment, yeah, that's the one. I'm going to leave that one out because that's the one that the little doodackies come off. Now, if anybody knows a good way of putting, see, I've done those with double-sided tape, and that's obviously not secure enough for that one. I think I'm going to put a stitch in it actually before I put it in there, but if anybody knows a good way of attaching little metal charms to cards and things, please do let me know in the comments. As I say, some of them I used a brad, and these are, when I do decide to use these, I will back them, but I didn't want a brad in all of them, and so these 3 here are put on with double-sided tape, and that's obviously not quite strong enough, so I'm going to leave that one out, and that'll remind me to I think I'll stitch them. But as I say, if you've found a way to put those on, please let me know. So I'm going to leave a little gap for that one. I'll pop that one in there. I think the video for this one has had the most views so far, which is quite interesting. That was the third one that I did. And a shaker card. And the first one. Yep, and so there's just a couple of pockets spare there. So, does it work? Here's the moment of truth. I'll just tidy them all up. And yes, it does. Look at that. So that can be quite happily sat on my shelf like that, and all my postcards are safe. They're not going to fall out, and they're actually quite tight in there. So even I think if I held it up the wrong way, yeah, they're not going to fall out. So there you go, folks. Pockets, storage pockets in a journal, or in a journal cover. Let me know what you think. Maybe you've got some ideas for taking it further. I probably won't decorate these because, as I say, it is just pure storage for me. But yeah, where can we take this? What would you do with it next? What do you think of the idea? Let me know in the comments below. But for now, that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Ka kite anō.